Awesome. So here are some updates and timelines. So unit elections will run from March 1st to April 30th, but that I know that you all know that something is due on March 1st. Can somebody drop what is due on March 1st in the chat? Yes, AFR, AFR, AFR. Your annual financial reports are due March 1st. Please make sure you submit your AFRs by March 1st so you can prevent yourself from getting hit with that $100 late fee. So if you don't turn in your AFR, you also cannot participate in an election. Once again, if you don't turn in your AFR, you cannot participate in an election. So the date and time of the election must be submitted by April 14th. At the latest, we will also be sending updates via email. And you, of course, are all following us on social media. Be pending for the graphics that will also drop on social media as a reminder. The name of the candidates are also due 14 days prior to the election date. As you all know, units are unable to self-administer elections. Jimel and I will also be in the loop and supervising the elections to make sure that everything is run smoothly and elections will be held via Election Buddy.
This couldn't be anything that can be used against us.
Once
Absolutely.
again, I'm gonna ask if you can mute yourself, please.
And thank you, Marie. Again, just want to make sure that we're highlighting that if you were planning to have your election on the 30th, the last day, you can submit on the 30th of April. The last day you can submit is April 14th. So make that clear.
All right. So general membership should vote to determine the date and the time that the election will be held. We talk about something called democracy. We are doing it together. No man is an island alone. You have to vote to determine the date and the time that the election will be held. Candidates must follow the same guidelines for nominations as outlined in the election manual. We want it to be less administration, more advocacy. We want you to be out there doing the work and also be on the lookout as momentarily I'll be dropping all of the necessary links that you actually need in the chat.
Yep. I think Marie is doing an excellent job of being nice to you all, but we want to get away from the administrative work, guys. We're just being transparent. We do not want you dealing with AFR in June. We don't want you dealing with any of these processes and procedures for any longer than you have to. So again, understanding that these things shouldn't be totally consuming the time that you have together with your group or the time that you have together to do the work.
Awesome. So you nominating committee. So why is it important to have a nominating committee? Units must identify their nominating committee and the committee should be aware of their functions and timelines. We recently talked about voting on time and date, but the nominating committee needs to know that information. So the minimum of 5 members for committee meetings committee and consist of no more than 2 members from the executive committee. If you don't have that, that's a great question you may ask. We'll have to figure it out together. So, form stack, which I probably dropped in the links in the chat, is one of the forms that we will be using, and momentarily you'll actually see what that looks like. And it's basically a function to gather unit election date, time, names of candidates, and that way we can keep it and store it on our back end as well. All right, and here is the document that I was just talking about. So you can see the unit election time and date. Has your unit completed the AFR mandatory? Mandatory, mandatory, because if you have not completed an AFR, you will not be able to participate in the election. The unit election time and date, as mentioned. Of course, you've seen above that the unit name, the time, all that good stuff. During the duration of the election, make sure you select your time zone as well as the date and time is mentioned already. So the purpose of the nominating committee. So nominate any member of the unit who is in good standing. Highlight good standing. What does good standing mean? A member in good standing is someone who is a member of the unit 30 days before the election. So if you decided that you wanted to run for a position and you are 27 days, unfortunately, you will not be able to hold that position. So if you have not already updated your membership, I would recommend you to do that right now while we are on the call. Determine the date and the candidate consent form is due for the unit. And also that form is also dropped in the link that I dropped in the chat earlier today. And the committee should gather all candidate ballots, verify eligibility, present all submission to the executive committee. Once formally approved and responsible, candidate consent form upload. There has been a new consent form, which you all may have already received. I'm gonna also drop that consent form in the chat. And this is what we recently went over. So you'll see it once again right here, the unit general information, making sure you put your unit name and number, your state, the great state, your unit type, your email, which is extremely important. If you have not set up a NAACP email as yet for your college, please visit the office hours as they are assisting with that. And we need to make sure that you have one. So the candidate ballot and consent form, as you can see right here, you put the name, the first name, the last name, the candidate consent form, and you just continue to upload the information. Vice president, also putting that in there. The second vice president, the secretary, the assistant secretary, the treasurer, the assistant treasurer, the advisor, wanting to make sure that all of this information is uploaded so that we'll be able to keep that on our back end. And you'll also see the candidate consent form right here. I, Marie Rattigan, consent to serve as a candidate for office of blank of a large executive committee member of the blank youth unit. Please make sure that you put it in correctly as well as that you don't forget to sign. Don't forget to sign. And of course, your petitions are needed and necessary. All right, so the name of the candidates are due 14 days prior to the election day and should include the candidate consent forms to upload. Please do not forget to upload the candidate consent forms and do it properly and also sign it. Once a candidate eligibility has been verified via Salesforce and they have completed the candidate consent form, they will be placed on an official ballot which must be sent out with the notification via the nomination committee. However, if you do not complete the AFR, you are not going to participate in any of this. So please make sure that you turn in your AFR. Next slide for me, Jimel. Awesome. And with that being said, we are going to pause right here for questions before we turn it over to Jimel.
I see we got a question in the chat, Marie.
Okay. Let me see. If everyone who is running for office running opposed, is election still required?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
There could be something to say about unopposed elections? Are we having enough youth that are actively engaged and stuff like that? But yeah, we still have to run it nonetheless, and it cannot be self-administered.
Right. We have
Regardless if you run into an issue with us on the back end, whatever the case may be, you cannot self-administer your elections. Point blank.
Also, if you are in need of assistance of EIN numbers, we are encouraging you to participate in the office hours. Please go to the office hours so that you can get your EIN number, because we know how important that is. If you don't have access to the OneDrive, please go to the office hours, as they are assisting with the OneDrive and giving you access. Please, 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 please.
Marie will share the office hour schedule post this conversation, just
Yeah.
so all the information doesn't get clouded for you all.
And I have already dropped the link with the office hours, the Zoom link. However, I'm going to drop in the chat as well the days that are left, because we had office hours since the beginning of March, and we know we're winding down to March 1st.
Mhm. And just want to be very clear to everyone, March 1st is not a deadline that you can't necessarily go past. You'll just be making a $175 payment on March 2nd. So irregardless, there's still going to be office hours and opportunities for us to assist you. But please understand that the late fee more than likely will not be waived. We can't do anything about that unless you've gotten into the ecosystem that is the AFR process. We won't be able to advocate for a waiving of the fee or whatever that case may be. So if you haven't started your process at all, our hands are tied. If you have and you haven't received something on our end, we can assist for sure. Okay, that's a perfect question. What if you submitted the AFR but have not received the link to make the payment? So we realized today that our language may have been a little bit wrong when speaking about the AFR. So we understand that the AFR is always going through changes and nuances. This year for youth units, there's something different. Universities or adult branches will be sent an invoice so that they can make a payment on behalf of the youth. Issue there is that once that invoice is sent out, it can sit, whatever the case may be. So what we're asking is that as long as you have been moved in our system to we call it payment. So we're putting you in this chunk of in this filtered list so that we can send you the link so that you can make your payment. Everything is kind of broken down on the back end so we can see where you are in the process and where we've kind of left off. And so again, if you are in that payment piece or have yet to receive that, we are going to go ahead and launch your election. We know that you're waiting on us now, and that's not the other way around. So just wanted to highlight that and make sure that folks understood it. Ms. Denise.
Good evening, everyone. So I've asked in the chat, what do I do that about the fact that I don't have an email address and I don't have access to Election Buddy?
So Election Buddy is a platform that we manage, and the only access you would have, honestly, is election day, where you will receive a link from us. So you don't necessarily have to worry too much about filling that portion out. But Marie will definitely follow up with you and share the links so that you can go ahead and start the process to receive your OneDrive access.
And
Okay.
also,
Go ahead.
also, Denise, if you come to the office hours, while in the office hours, they help you to set up your email right there and then as well.
I've done that already. I haven't received it.
Okay, perfect. So then you're speaking to the exact thing. Again, we want to be as very transparent, you guys. We are not dealing with robots. A lot of the input is manual. So a lot of the things that you guys are inserting and sending to us, it's not instantaneous. It's not flipping right over and then you automatically get this access. It's actually Christian and team going into the system and making sure that things make sense. So we definitely do apologize because and we've advocated, it can seem slow from a member view, And so we definitely wanted to just make sure that we're uplifting that. And again, we definitely understand it's our job. We're getting paid to do it, but just give us a little bit of grace, and we will work
No,
with
that's fine. I went to the office hours, and that's how I got the EIN. I've gotten an email on how to get access to the OneDrive, but if I don't have an email address or password, like how am I supposed to do that?
Okay, sure.
Thank
You
you
know?
for that.
Yeah. So I might be not using the correct terminology. So I don't even know how to see our active roster. We've only been established for a year, and that's so I may not be meaning to say election buddy. So whatever the system is, may I see it so I can hound my students to renew and make sure that we have our compliance number, you know.
No, definitely. That's definitely possible. Which unit are you with? And we'll just write this down.
Dominican, so 28
Ah,
AZ. I put it in the chat.
Dominican. I used to go to NAACP. I don't like Dominican University.
Well,
University.
that's rude.
They were our rivals. They were our rivals. So, but no, definitely, we'll definitely work with you. We'll definitely make sure that you get access to that. And we'll have I have your email, and so we'll make sure to share that information with you.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Also, I know someone asked, what's the link to submit the AFR? Excuse me. I've dropped that link in the chat, as well as someone asked, what's the link for the office hours? I also dropped that link in the chat. And you need to go to the office hours so that they can help you with the OneDrive, getting access to it. So the most important thing is going to the office hours so that you can voice what you're having issue with.
See a hand raised, and then we'll move through the rest of the presentation.
Um, it was just like a quick question. So like within my unit, we don't have like the youth part developed yet. We're trying to get that developed. So how how do I get that started, I guess is what I'm asking.
Which unit are you with?
6219.
52. And what's the name of that unit?
Uh it's St. Angelo.
Okay, can you drop your email in the chat, and then we'll circle back and set up a time to get with you?
Okay, thank you.
All right, no problem. Thank you.
All right. And with that being said, Jamil, I'll pass it over to you.
All righty, thank you. And thank you all for indulging us in that quick little question session. Wanted to make sure that we feel all the questions and concerns that you all may have. But before we get into it, if you're in your seats or wherever you at, just shake it out. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out with me. And put a P, because we pushing P, we pushing peace, we pushing policy, we pushing a lot of things. So put a P in the chat for me. And once I see 5 P's, I'm gonna get it going. Put a P, pushing P, yes. Come on now.
Yes,
Thank you, y'all. Okay, you're with me. All right, so who are elections for? Elections are for the president, the vice president, secretary, treasurer, and advisor. We know that you want to give Miss NAACP and the chairman of the board, or whatever you guys call whatever these other positions are in your unit, an opportunity to be on the ballot, but unfortunately, it is not their place. It's only for the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and if you have the capacity, if you have the workload, then you would go ahead and put in a assistant secretary, assistant treasurer, co-advisor. Again, if you have the capacity and you have the workload, please go ahead. But again, just wanted to make sure that you're not adding anything extra, not a committee chair or anything like that to your ballot. Want to keep it clean. So unit candidate eligibility. So only members in good standing will be able to run for office. This is extremely important because in years past, we've seen it. And we know that in large part it's because you can't see your membership status. And so we understand that. But unfortunately, we've seen it where somebody who's interested in running for president hasn't been a member for the past 2 years and doesn't even realize it. And unfortunately, we're unable to add them to the ballot because all the other candidates have their things squared away. We don't want that to happen to you. And so we want to make sure that you are thinking and being mindful of your membership status when that date is, because only members in good standing will be able to run. And that is somebody who's paid and been a member for at least 30 days. Candidates must complete the consent form and return it to that nominating committee by the date set forth from the executive body. And so it's going to be really, really important. It's going to be really, really important for that nominating committee to understand their functions, to be able to put forth a date to the body so that everybody knows if you're interested in running, this is the date you have to submit your stuff by, because this is the date that our nominating committee chair will be turning our ballots in. We've also seen issues with that. We do not want to get in the weeds of your functions as a unit. If the nominating committee has set a date, please do your best to try to adhere to that date. Understand things happen, but again, this is why we have process and procedure. And so it's really important for every person who's running for a position to understand those deadlines set forth by your your general body. So we are asking our secretaries to update candidate information of members via Salesforce if needed. This is something, again, that can be remixed because we understand not all secretaries have access to Salesforce. So what we plan to do, and bear with this, y'all. So we want to work with units to ensure that you have everything you need. So we're going to do our due diligence to make sure that you have a copy of your roster. Why do we want to do that? Because somebody's phone number may have changed, somebody's email address may have changed in the past year, and we want to be able to get these ballots to these individuals. It's going to be imperative that we have up-to-date information, and so we want to work with the chapter secretary to ensure that that information is indeed accurate. All members in good standing are eligible to participate in the unit elections and will receive a ballot via email or SMS. Want to be kind of clear here, hasn't been a problem, but just want to say it. Advisors won't get a ballot. So they won't be able to vote in the election, although their names are on the ballot. This is strictly for the members of the unit. And so those will be the folks who will be receiving either the email or the SMS message. On the screen, you are looking at a sample of the email that will come from Election Buddy. So oftentimes we know you may get a lot of spam emails. So we just wanted you to be able to see it and put it in front of you so you know what to expect on election day for your unit. You can expect the subject line to read something like "Vote Now, NAACP election ballot." Once you click into the message, there'll be a hyperlink. Things will be bolded and it'll prompt you to vote. Visit the link below. You'll be able to click on that. And then to our right, you'll see what the notification looks like.
Stuff. I would go and I would like refill it with.
Uh-oh. Somebody refilling something. And here's what it looks like as a text message. So again, we have that option to send it to you as a text. It's gonna look like a spam text, so you might look past it. But it's gonna read again, NAACP election ballot, new ballot notification, vote here. Click into that, and it'll take you directly to that form. From there, you go through it. You can click your selection for each position, and then you go and go from there. Just want to name this because y'all probably looking like, oh, see, executive committee on this one. This is the adults. This is a version for the adults. So voting results and next steps. And so want to make sure that units know, who won. Last year, we kind of took that on. But this year, we learned from the platform that once the election is complete, you can click back into the same link we just went over, and you'll be able to see the results. So you don't need us at all. For advisors, they'll have to work with somebody in the unit to share that information, or if you reach out to myself or Marie, we can share that information with you as well for advisors, because they won't be a part of those who receive the results. Again, and at the very latest, if there are some hiccups or anything like that, you will receive your election results within 72 hours. So here's a committee breakdown. Won't spend too much time on this. We will be sharing this PowerPoint with you, so you can kind of look through high level of the nuances and differences between the college and high school chapters and the youth and junior youth council committees. But this is a snapshot, and again, we'll definitely share it with you. These are committees that can be filled post-election and should be ratified and must be ratified by the elected executive committee. Everybody in the committee, not just the president. So although the president or a few executive committee members may have a suggestion, the entire group needs to agree before we move forward in extending the invitation to that incoming committee chair.
Assault rifle and something over else up in the mobile home.
All right. So we're at the end. Again, this particular training, super high level, straightforward, but wanted to be able to kind of run you guys through what to expect and the election process. Again, Marie did a wonderful job kind of socializing the fact that you need to be attending the office hours. You have to be going through that process so that we can do our due diligence and take you through the process. We're going to stop here and yield for questions. We'll take about 10 minutes of questions.